Hello children, we are discussing chapter 13, that is sound. In this chapter, we have discussed what is sound. It is a form of energy which travels in the form of vibrations and due to which we are enables us to hear something. That energy is known as sound. Then we have discussed how the sound is propagated, how the sound travels from the source of sound to the listener. The sound travels in the form of waves, and the sound propagated when particles of a medium gives the energy to the next one. This transfer of energy takes place by back and forth movement. This continuous back and or to and fro movement will help the sound to travel, to propagate from the source of sound to the listener. Then we have discussed in this chapter that the speed of sound is much greater as compared to much lesser as compared to the speed of light. For that particular reason, we see the lightning first and then heard the thunder later on. During a thunderstorm, whenever there is lightning and a thunder is created, a large or huge sound is created, we always first see the lightning and then later on heard the thunder. The reason behind this is the speed of light in air or vacuum is 3 into 10 raised to the power 8 meter per second. That is approximately 30 crores meter per second. Whereas the speed of sound in air is 340 meter per second only. So the light travels much more quicker and reaches our eyes first, and then the sound of thunder reaches our ears later on. Then we have discussed the characteristics of sound in this chapter in my previous videos. The first characteristic which we have discussed was amplitude. What is the amplitude? The maximum displacement by the bob of the pendulum around its extreme position. That maximum displacement is known as amplitude. जो एक पेंडुलम है उसकी जो बॉब है बच्चे, वो एक मैक्सिमम डिस्प्लेसमेंट कवर करती है, and that maximum displacement covered by that bob is known as amplitude. Then we have discussed बच्चे the frequency. What is the frequency of a pendulum? The number of times a pendulum moves back and forth around its mean position in 1 second. That is known as a frequency. Frequency of a pendulum क्या है बच्चे? एक बॉब, एक पेंडुलम की बॉब 1 सेकंड में कितनी बार एक एक्सट्रीम पोजीशन से दूसरी एक्सट्रीम पोजीशन पर जाकर वापस वहीं आ जाए, that is known as frequency. The unit of frequency is hertz, on the name of the discoverer of this unit, and 50 hertz means 50 cycles by a pendulum in 1 second. 100 hertz means 100 cycles of pendulum in 1 second. So that was the frequency, bache. Then we have discussed the time period. What is the time period? Number of cycles completed in 1 second is known as a frequency, and the number of time taken, the amount of time taken to complete 1 cycle is known as time period. देखो बच्चों, फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या थी? 1 सेकंड में कितनी साइकिल्स पूरी हो जाएंगी, दैट इज फ्रीक्वेंसी. टाइम पीरियड क्या है? 1 साइकिल को कितना टाइम लगेगा, दैट इज नोन एज टाइम पीरियड. द अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम टेकन, द टाइम टेकन by a bob to complete its 1 oscillation is known as time period. Now we will discuss how the sound is produced by us, how human beings produce the sound. Human body has various regions. This region is known as head region. This region is known as a neck or throat region. This region is known as a thoracic cavity, thoracic region. This region, whom we call, pate in our general language, that is known as abdominal cavity. And then we have our tail region, that is legs. So, in our throat or neck region, in this part here, when I press it, my voice changes, bache. There, a structure, special box-like structure is present, which is known as voice box. The voice box is present in our throat region. This voice box is also referred as larynx. This larynx or this voice box is also known as Adam's apple. Adam was the name of the scientist who discovered it, and its structure appears to be like an apple. So that is why it is referred as Adam's apple. This larynx, this voice box, is responsible for the voice of a human being. This larynx contains two strings-like structure named as vocal cords in a fixed, well-defined structure made up of ligaments. These are two vocal cords. These vocal cords arranged in a manner that they created a slit in between them. That is a vocal cords, which are the ligaments, and there is a slit in between them. There is a gap. That gap is known as a slit. So that is the structure, the basic structure of larynx, which is composed of two narrow string-like ligament structures which are known as vocal cords. And these vocal cords have a narrow slit in between them. How that sound is produced then, bache? Whensoever we push the air from our lungs, in this thoracic cavity we have lungs, bache. Whensoever we push the air out of the lungs, then air through this windpipe will reaches to the larynx. When that vocal cords come in contact with that moving air, these vocal cords will start to vibrate like this. They will start to move to and fro around its main position. This to and fro, this vibratory motion, this oscillatory motion produce the vibrations, and those vibrations come out of our throat. Then bache, we use our lower jaw, this lower jaw, our tongue, our lips to make the words which is known as a phonation, speech. And those sounds which are coming out of this larynx, those vibrations which are coming out of these larynx, these vocal cords, these will convert it into a particular sound of a particular word which is peculiar known to you. So that's how the sound is produced by human beings. I'm explaining it again to you, bacho. Whensoever we push the lung air from the lungs towards the outside region, towards our mouth, then that air will allow these vocal cords to vibrate around its main position. Whensoever these vocal cords vibrate, they will produce certain vibrations. Those vibrations are sound itself. Then, bache, we use our lower jaw, our tongue, and our lips to make the words, and that making of word by our mouth is known as phonation or speech. And that's how sound is delivered to the listener. In males, the vocal cords are a bit longer as compared to the females and children. That is why the frequency of the voice of the male is less as compared to females and children. The frequency of a female's voice and a children's voice, small children's voice, is higher. That is why they have very high pitch. And due to that high pitch, they have a very shrill sound. They have a very fine sound. एक बहुत तीखा sound produce करती हैं बच्चे, females as well as the small children. The reason behind them is the men have longer vocal cords than the women and children. That's why the frequency of the sound produced by women and children is higher. The frequency of the sound of produced by women and the children is higher as compared to the males, due to they have smaller vocal cords. So smaller vocal cords means more frequency, and more frequency means the pitch of sound is high, and high pitch means the sound is shrill. बहुत तीखा आवाज आएगी बच्चे. So that's how the sound is produced in human beings. Next topic which we have to discuss is human ear. Human ear is composed of three parts: outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. These parts further described into various parts, like outer ear has pinna, ear canal, and eardrum, which is also known as tympanum or tympanic membrane. The middle ear has 3 bones, which are short formed as has: hammer, anvil, and stirrup. Actually, these are the shapes of these bones, bache. The actual names is malleus, incus, and stapes. Stapes is the smallest bone of our body. These are the shapes. Malleus is of hammer-like shape, bache. Incus is of anvil shape, and the stapes is of stirrup shape. Then we have inner ear. Inner ear further has 2 parts. One spirally coiled part that is known as cochlea, and other one is semicircular canals. These provides the moisture to the inner ear, and moisture increases the amplitude of the sound. So we study these parts one by one by drawing the diagram. This is pinna. This structure is known as pinna. It is made up of ligaments, that is, it can be changed into various shapes. It is flexible because it does not contain any bone. It is made up of filament. This one, which father used to stretch when you do any notorious thing at home. That is pinna. It is flexible, bache. It is made up of a ligament. What does this pinna do? Pinna collects the sound waves from the surroundings, and those sound waves are concentrated towards a canal, a duct, a pipe-like structure which is known as ear canal. This is known as ear canal. This ear canal has certain mucus, that is certain slimy substance which stops the entry of dust particles and pathogens into the ear, into the inner ear. ये जो बच्चे पाथ है, जो रास्ता है, इस पर एक स्लाइमी सब्सटेंस, एक चिपचिपा सब्सटेंस होता है जिसे म्यूकस बोलते हैं, MUCUS, म्यूकस. That does not allow the dust particles to goes into the inner ear. Then we have a drum that is known as eardrum or tympanum. It is also known as tympanic membrane. What does it do? What is its function? Whensoever the sound waves travels from the pinna, from the ear canal, and strikes on the eardrum, that eardrum will start to vibrate. And the sound is further transported to the next part. जैसे ही बच्चों साउंड वेव्स एयर के थ्रू हमारे कान में जाएंगी, ईयर कैनाल से पास होते हुए वो ईयर ड्रम को स्ट्राइक करेंगी, एंड ईयर ड्रम विल स्टार्ट्स टू वाइब्रेट, एंड दैट वाइब्रेशन विल लीड्स टू द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ अनदर वाइब्रेशंस. बच्चे देन बच्चे द साउंड वेव रीचेस टू मिडिल ईयर. मिडिल ईयर एम्पलीफाइज द साउंड. मिडिल ईयर में 3 बोन्स हैं, इट हैज 3 बोन्स, एंड दीज 3 बोन्स will increase the energy of sound, will increase the amplitude of sound. It has 3 bones, bache. One is of hammer-like shape. The other one is of stirrup-like shape. And the smallest bone, that is stapes. They are connected to an oval window, and around these there is a canal, there is a tube present which is known as Eustachian tube. This is hammer shaped bone known as malleus. This is anvil shaped bone that is known as incus, and this one is shape of bone known as stapes. So these are the three bones which amplify the sound energy, which amplify the sound and reaches the sound or sends the sound to oval window. This oval window is a connection between the middle ear and the inner ear. This middle ear also has a tube which is known as eustachian tube. This tube maintains the air pressure in the throat and the neck. So in the throat and the ear region. So this eustachian tube maintains the air pressure. That's why sometimes whenever water will reaches into our ears, then we heard our sound louder. That is because of the imbalance of the pressure inside the eustachian tube. So when we shrug that ear rapidly and quickly, then that water will come out of that eustachian tube and the balance is maintained. So this eustachian tube maintains the air pressure inside the middle ear so that a balance between our throat region, between our sound production and the audibility of sound can be maintained easily. Then we have inner ear. That inner ear has two things. These are the semicircular canals, and it has a cochlea. Cochlea is snail shell shaped, and this cochlea is filled with a fluid. It also has certain fine hairs. These hair and mucus-like structure, slimy substance, this liquid, helps the sound to reaches to the brain. There are various, nerves are connected. Nerves are special kind of cells or organs which takes the sound to the brain. And these nerves are known as auditory nerves. These nerves will carry the signal to the brain. Then our brain decodes the signal and we'll, memorize the sounds. For example, my name. If someone is calling Aman, how I will be able to know that is my name? Because that is in my memory that my name is Aman, and whenever the sound reaches to my ears, the sound will goes to brain through these nerves. Then brain decodes the signal. That sound travels in the form of electrical signal. Then how it will turns into words, the brain decodes that electrical signal. And then I'll easily recognize that word, and then that word will be into my memory. Sorry. So these are the auditory nerves. Then these are referred as semicircular canals. These semicircular canals maintain the balance of the mucus or liquid present in this inner ear. So that's how the human ear works. The outer ear collects the sound, produces the vibration. The middle ear, the three bony structures, amplifies the sound, and then the inner ear will send that amplified sound to the brain for decoding. And our brain decodes the signal, and that's how we are able to recognize that sound from our memory. Now we will discuss the working of human ear in the form of a flowchart. As I explained to you, the pinna of the outer ear collects the sound vibrations from the surroundings and then pass it on those vibrations to the eardrum through a canal that is known as ear canal. So the first step is Pinna collects the sound from the surroundings and then sends these vibrations or the sounds to the eardrum through ear canal. Then when those sound vibrations, and that sound falls on the eardrum, that allows the eardrum to move back and forth. and that back and forth movement of eardrum will produces another vibrations. So the second step is, whensoever sound falls on the eardrum, those sound vibrations will make the eardrum vibrate. Then bache, those vibrations will goes to the middle ear, and the three bones, hammer, anvil and stirrup, they will amplify the sound. They will increase the energy of the sound, and then that sound is, traveled to the inner ear. So the next step is, the three bones present in the middle ear, that is the hammer, anvil and stirrup. These are the shapes of these bones. Of middle ear, they amplify the vibrations. They increases the energy of those vibrations. Then these vibrations are sent to the inner ear, that is the Cochlea region of inner ear. Cochlea receives that amplified vibrations, and the sensitive hair cells present in that cochlea will convert those vibrations into nerve impulses. What is a nerve impulse? It is a small electrical signal, a small electric current which flows through specialized cells of our body, which are known as nerve cells. नर्व सेल्स हमारी बॉडी की स्पेशल सेल्स है बेटा, जो एक सिग्नल को रिसीव करती हैं और उस सिग्नल को ब्रेन तक लेकर जाती हैं और फिर उस सिग्नल को वापस उसका रिस्पॉन्स ब्रेन से लाती हैं. सो कॉक्लिया रिसीव्स द वाइब्रेशन फ्रॉम द मिडल ईयर, एंड देन द सेंसिटिव हेयर सेल प्रेजेंट इन द कॉक्लिया कन्वर्ट दोज सिग्नल वाइब्रेशंस इनटू नर्व impulses. Those nerve impulses are then sent to the brain by specialized cells known as auditory nerves. Auditory nerves are the combination of the nerve cells. So these auditory nerves carry these nerve impulses to brain. Then our brain decodes the vibratory signal and will understand the sound if we heard it before, and if it is first time for us, then we'll keep revise it and then memorize it. अगर हम बच्चे पहले से वो साउंड सुना हुआ हमने, तो हम आसानी से उसको मेमोराइज कर लेते हैं, रिकॉग्नाइज कर लेते हैं. और अगर हमने वो साउंड पहले से नहीं सुना हुआ, then we'll revise it and memorize it, and then we'll able to give a response to it. So that is what the working of human ear in the form of a flow chart.